The Senate is soon going to vote on the confirmation of Joe Biden's Supreme Court pick, Ketanji Brown Jackson. Now, she will be confirmed, and it will be an accomplishment for Joe Biden, rightfully so. Donald Trump had as an accomplishment, I mean, he picked horrible people, but he had as an accomplishment not only getting a bunch of judges confirmed to lower courts, as has Joe Biden, but Trump also had 3 Supreme Court justices to his name, and they are accomplishments. I mean, let's be honest. They are disastrous justices who have pulled the Supreme Court more to the right than it's been in a very long time. But if you're a right wing nut, you like it and you see it as an accomplishment. So when, not if, when Judge Jackson is confirmed to the Supreme Court, it will be an accomplishment for President Joe Biden, and maybe he will get more opportunities. But we are now starting to hear from Republicans about whether they will support the confirmation. Now, you know, and I know, and anybody who takes the time to look knows that Judge Jackson is as qualified as any of the 9 justices currently on the court, with a wider breadth of experience than any justice on the court. The closest is Stephen Breyer, who she would be replacing. But it still appears many Republicans, maybe even most, are going to be voting no. We don't yet know whether Mitt Romney will vote to confirm Judge Jackson. Susan Collins, Republican from Maine, has said she will vote to confirm Judge Jackson. And her explanation is so simple. It's she has the experience and she has the qualifications. That's it. And it really should be that simple. But I'm going to give you an example of the worst of the worst. Here's a clip of Republican Senator Roy Blunt. This is almost beyond parody. He was interviewed by George Stephanopoulos on ABC yesterday, and he says that Jackson should be confirmed, and it will be a great accomplishment that she will be confirmed. It will be a high point for the country, but he's not going to support that confirmation. And when George Stephanopoulos asks, well, why, he delivers an unintelligible word salad reminiscent of Sarah Palin, who, by the way, we'll talk about a little bit later today. Listen to this.
With Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson, have you made up your mind yet?
Well, I have, George, and good to be with you this morning. You know, I've thought initially, my sense is that the president certainly had every good intention and every right in the campaign to talk about putting the first black woman on the court. I think it's time for that to happen. I was hoping that I could be part of that. I had a great conversation with her. Really, there are 2 criteria, as I said immediately. One is the person qualified for the job? And 2 is, what's their judicial philosophy?
Okay.
She's certainly qualified. I think she's got a great personality. I think will be a good colleague on the court. But the judicial philosophy seems to be not the philosophy of looking at what the law says and the Constitution says and applying that, but going through some method that allows you to try to look at the Constitution as a more flexible document. And even
now, I wish that were true. It's not true. And it was actually surprising to many progressives how centrist on the questions of judicial philosophy and seeing the Constitution more as a sacred text versus a living document, how centrist her answers were. This is just not true, what Roy Blunt is saying.
In the law, and there are cases that show that that's her view. I think she's certainly going to be confirmed. I think it'll be a high point for the country to see her go on the court and take her unique perspective to the court. But I don't think she's the kind of judge that will really do the kind of work that I think needs to be done by.
What on earth is he talking about? He likes the fact that there's going to be the first black woman on the court. He says that her qualifications are without question, but he's not big on her judicial philosophy, which he claims without evidence nor citing a single example that she's not strict enough about her interpretation of the Constitution. But there's no substance there. It sounds like basically the only things he's defending are reasons to vote for her confirmation.
The court, and I won't be supporting her, but I'll be joining others in understanding the importance of this moment.
If it's a high point for the country, why not support her?
Right.
Well, I think the lifetime appointments have a different criteria than other appointments. I've supported a significant number of President Biden's nominees to offices that will end, their time will end while he's still in office or when he leaves office. I think that's a different criteria than putting somebody on the court for life. I don't think I've seen.
But you're still not really giving an example of what it is about her answers that concerned you. So this is mealy-mouthed, to say the least. And quite frankly, it might be just as simple as I'm not going to vote for her because my supporters will be mad and I don't want to anger my supporters. A lot of the Republicans who are saying they're not going to vote for her don't even really seem to know why they're not going to vote for her. They seem to sometimes rattle off something about sentencing for people in possession of explicit child sexual images. But even then, it's not even really clear what they thought the sentences should be in certain cases. It's all very weird. And there's a report from Business Insider, which indicates that Mitch McConnell, the Republican Senate minority leader, has been pushing other Republican senators to also not support Judge Jackson. So we will wait and see. She's going to be confirmed by absolutely every indication. The question is how many Republicans are actually going to support her. And on qualifications, there is nothing there in terms of a valid reason not to support her. This is a disturbing story. I want to let everybody know in advance that this is a very, very disturbing story that we're about to talk about. An anti-abortion nut in her late 20s has been caught by police. This is really tough. With 5 fetuses in her house. This is a real headline. I was convinced when I first saw it, this must be bogus. This can't possibly be real. But it is all too real, and it is horrifying. And this seems like a very, very sick person. D.C. police find 5 fetuses in the home of anti-abortion activist Lauren Handy. People will freak out when they hear, the anti-abortion activist reportedly said. Washington, D.C. police found 5 fetuses in the home of an anti-abortion activist on Wednesday. Lauren Handy sat outside her home as officers brought out coolers containing fetuses. Handy declined to tell a reporter outside her home what was there, but said people will freak out when they hear. Metro Police confirmed to HuffPost that it found the 5 fetuses after being sent to investigate a tip. So that means someone knew how sick this woman was, and they reported her, which is good. It's a good thing that someone reported this woman. The police statement says, upon further investigation, MPD located 5 fetuses inside a residence at the location. The fetuses were collected by the D.C. office of the chief medical examiner. Image of the woman sitting outside her home has been published widely to Twitter. Another article on this from NBC Washington. Lauren Handy is one of 9 people accused of blocking access to a D.C. abortion clinic in 2020. So this is already someone on the radar of police for her. I don't even call it anti-abortion activism seems not to actually take into consideration what it is that these people do. Police went to 28-year-old Lauren Handy's basement apartment and investigating a tip about a possible biohazard material in her house. They collected fetuses. It's just sick. I'm not even going to you guys get it, okay? You guys, this is difficult to wrap one's head around. Did anyone know? How long did she have them? What was she going to use these fetuses for? And understand one really important thing here, okay? I am guessing if you asked her or other anti-abortion activists willing to do this, why they did it, they would say it's to prove some kind of point, for the shock value in some kind of anti-abortion propaganda, to expose the evils of stem cell research, embryonic stem. I don't know what they would say, but they would have some justification. But understand that by their own logic, these are people. They believe that these are people. Some of them believe at conception. Some of them believe at 5 weeks. Some of them believe. Okay, if you believe that a fetus is a person, you've basically stolen human bodies from a morgue, which is criminal. Understand that this is by their logic and their framework of what they believe about this issue. These are fully human lives, according to them. So this would be like keeping 5 dead bodies that, again, that have been killed by their logic. These are some, I don't know. Are these Bates Motel twists or I don't know. But this is absolutely sick. This is so, you know, it's sort of like the Fox hosts who argue that they give you the news and the truth on air. Then they get sued for what they say. And in court, they go, we're entertainers. We're just entertainers. That's it. This isn't news when they get sued. Is it going to be an example of the same thing? Well, listen, these are humans. Blah, blah, blah. Oh, but you just got caught with 5 fetuses. These are humans, right? So it's like having 5 bodies from a morgue. No. This is tissue. That's all it is. These people are sick. These people are sick. And I'm not using the T word, right? What we often call the domestic, you know what we call them? I'm not using it because I just don't know that it's legally appropriate. But it's pretty damn close. It's pretty damn close what these people do. To shift gears, and it's very hard to shift gears from this, I want to invite all of you to participate in our next town hall. We are doing a town hall, opening the phone lines to all of our viewers and listeners. It'll be Tuesday, April 19th at 6 p.m. Eastern. It'll be live on our Pacman Live channel. Really looking forward to it. Really looking forward to hearing from you guys. And I'll have more reminders coming up. Let me know your thoughts about these first couple of stories. Find me on Twitter at dpacman. Don't forget that the best way to support the David Pakman Show is by becoming a member, which gives you access to the daily bonus show, the regular show with no commercials. You also get access to our entire archive of every episode dating back a really long time and plenty of other awesome membership perks. Go to joinpacman.com and use the coupon code BETTER21 for a huge discount. Joinpacman.com. The David Pakman Show is made possible by our viewers. It is the most important revenue source that we have when people sign up at joinpacman.com. You can now gift memberships to other people, but we just have too much to talk about for me to spend too much time on that. So I will just say, sign up at joinpacman.com. We would love to have you. The weekend that we just had, I'm trying to figure out the right words. It's not funny anymore, guys. If it ever was, and it was never funny to many of us, if it ever was, this Trump cult is not funny anymore. They are motivated. Tens of millions of them still want Trump again. They are willing to travel. They are willing to pay just to hear from the guy. He is increasingly the dangerous cult leader. They are increasingly the dangerous cultists. I just finished reading Jeff Gwynn's great book about Charles Manson. And when I read about the followers of Manson and what they were willing to do, in their case, they were willing to kill. It's hard not to think about Trump cultists. And the danger of this group of people cannot be overstated. There was a rally in Michigan over the weekend. We're going to look at what Trump said. We're going to look at what the speaker said. We're going to look at what the attendees said. And one of the things that is concerning is the Trumpists who now come across my streams of these events, they are angrier than ever. They used to ignore my coverage of these rallies before. Now, dozens and dozens of them will email me furious. Maybe it's because they are angry that he lost and he's no longer president. Maybe it's because they are emboldened. Maybe it's because they don't like that Trump is making no sense whatsoever at these rallies. But for whatever reason, they are very, very triggered by our coverage of these rallies. Let's start with the things that Donald Trump said yesterday. It was a very glitchy night. There were like 5 or 6 of those weird glitch Twitch issues. I'm not going to play all of them. Here's one where I guess he was trying to talk about Zuckerberg drop boxes, and he just glitched, and it was very strange.
The elimination of Zuckerberg drop box. I call them the unlock boxes, you know?
And it's always that shoulder glitch right when he makes a mistake. It's not clear what it is. We don't know. Is it neurological? Is it psychological? We don't know. There were half a dozen of them yesterday. I won't bore you with more of them. We're used to it up until this point in time. I made a good faith effort to find anything that Trump said that was true. And here's the best I came up with. Trump said at one point during the rally, in Russia, there is such a rigged press that some Russians don't even really understand the nature of the war that is going on. That was true. Everything else he said was false.
You know, they say that in Russia, the people in Russia don't even know they're having a war. because they have a rigged press. We have the same rigged press. Maybe
Wow.
not quite as severe, but it'll be there in the not too distant future.
Now, of course, that last part isn't true, although Trump would love to have a rigged press that only praises him, but that is not true. As crazy as this is going to sound, Donald Trump floated the idea of going back to Afghanistan. He said, "What? We might go back." And the crowd cheered. "Guys, I can't do it. I can't do it." It was years of saying he would get us out, and he failed to do it. And then Biden got us out. And now Trump is so upset with how Biden got us out that he says maybe we'll go back and get our stuff. And the crowd cheers. We're talking about, in order to do that, you've got to send troops back in. And the crowd cheers. It's beyond belief.
So you have many citizens that the Taliban is holding. They didn't get enough with the $85 billion. Maybe we ought to go in and take it back. Dumbest thing I've ever seen.
Go back in?
Finest military equipment in the world they have, from the goggles to the 700,000 machine guns.
It is incredible. I'm not aware of Trump ever having mentioned Joe Biden's White House press secretary, Jen Psaki, before, but he did at the Saturday rally. And he referred to her as the woman with the really beautiful red hair. He can't talk about anything in a normal way. Here is Trump on Jen Psaki.
And then the woman with the really beautiful red hair, she left. And she was hit so hard by the military because they knew I was right. The military understood I was right. You know, she's going to MSDNC. You know that, right? Right?
It does appear that Jen Psaki is going to be, when she leaves, going to MSNBC. So I guess Trump told two truths in his nearly 2-hour speech.
They need a redhead. They don't have a redhead over there, so they need a redhead.
Very slurry, as you can imagine, and the crowd just absolutely loving all of it. Here is another lie that Trump continues to tell. Trump once again claiming that he was the recipient of an award that does not exist.
It get worse. And then I was named a long time ago. Did you know this? A long time. I don't know, your Chamber of Commerce, somebody, who the hell knows what it is. They named me the Man of the Year in Michigan. And I got up and I said, "They're stealing your car business." And I was really rebuked. They said, "That wasn't a very nice thing to say." I said, "But it's..."
Now, two things. One, I don't know why Trump was so sweaty throughout the entire event. Many of our viewers were asking that on Saturday night. But that award doesn't exist. The crowd cheers anyway. It doesn't matter whether, if you go, this is the sick reality, guys. Trump's been claiming he got this award, Michigan Man of the Year, for a very long time. There's no evidence that it exists. So it's been researched by multiple media outlets. They tried since 2016. Media outlets have been trying to verify that Trump got this award. There's no evidence he got it. There's no evidence the award exists. If you go to a Trumpist and say, that award doesn't exist, they would come up with something like, well, he should have gotten that award. That award should exist. It should be created. It should be given to Donald Trump. This is how delusional these cultists are. Now, at another point in the rally, Trump made a completely unintelligible rant about, we figured out later he's talking about Jeff Fortenberry, who was convicted of lying to the FBI and concealing information. Criminal, okay? And Trump seemed to sort of be making light of what happened to Jeff Fortenberry, but it didn't make any sense. Listen to this.
$1 million, in a great state, Nebraska, a congressman is being put in jail over a few dollars that he possibly didn't even know anything about. He's going to jail, a few $1,000s, and yet this guy gives $417 million to all these states. The money, it's passed around like pizza at a party, and nothing happens to him. They're putting this congressman, I don't know him well, but he's a congressman, and it was over a very small amount of money. They're going to put him in jail over a number of thousands, like
$20,000. It first was no money, and then it was thousands, and then it's 20,000s. Jeff Fortenberry was convicted of lying to the FBI, like many Trump associates have done, concealing information in an investigation about illegal contributions made by a foreign national to his reelection campaign. Does that ring a bell to anybody? Sounds very similar to some of the investigations into the people around Trump. Trump then had a sort of dog whistle attack on primarily, but not exclusively, black athletes who have knelt during the national, or is it knelt or kneeled during the national anthem, saying you only kneel, you don't kneel, or wait, listen to it.
And Americans kneel to God and God alone.
Okay, there it is. Yeah, okay, so you guys get the implication. You don't kneel during the anthem, you only kneel to God. My sense is Trump's never been on his knees for Jesus in his life. That's my sense of the guy. And then lastly, Trump starts to do sort of like a impression of how he would do a concession speech, but then he stops for fear that the media will edit it in an unfair way.
Oh, be a lot easier for me to do, like many people have done, get up and just say, congratulations, whoever it is I'm running against. I mean, if you're running, I'd say, congratulations, Joe. Now watch, if I say it, I don't want to say it because they'll put it on like, this is what they do.
Whoa.
Remember the Russia, if you're listening thing? So they cut it off immediately because it was a joke. Russia, if you're listening, you do this or that with her emails or whatever the hell it was. And then I laughed, they laughed, the whole place was lit, but they cut it off immediately. It said, Russia, if you're listening, cut.
Nobody cut it off there. That is a lie. Nobody cut it off there. So this is the dangerous cultist. He has followers. He has influence. They're not going away. Let's now look at some of the other people who spoke at the rally. Donald Trump does a rally in Michigan over the weekend. It's outrageous. Trump lies uncontrollably. Next, let's go to the other people on the stage with him. They did an opening prayer, which started with the belief that Donald Trump is the current president. It's what's fascinating is it's almost a religious belief at this point.
Together. So we pray, Father in heaven, we firmly believe that Donald J. Trump is the current and true president of the United States. You have raised him up for this season of time to be used to be part in saving a nation. Bless and protect him and his family from any physical, spiritual attacks, and may his voice stir the people to righteous action to bring godly men and women into elected office.
This is a really, really sick country, guys. We've got real problems here. We have real problems. And it is almost a religious belief. I mean, it wouldn't shock me if soon they say, actually, this is no longer a political belief. Our belief that Trump is currently the president, God told us. It's now a sincerely held religious belief. We want religious non-discrimination protection. I shouldn't give them any ideas, but this country's in real trouble. We also heard at this event from Republican Congresswoman Lisa McClain, who wildly claimed that unemployment is now at a 40-year high. That's not true.
Trouble. We went from an economy that was booming to a shambles. What we have now is a shambles. It's a complete mess. Unemployment, 40-year high. Labor shortage. We can't find goods at the store.
Now, that is completely untrue. As many of you know, unemployment is incredibly low. It's at 3.6%. We're putting a historical chart of the unemployment rate up on the screen. And as you can see, it is very, very, very low. Then Lisa McClain went on to say Trump got Osama bin Laden. Now, some of you guys might remember Barack Obama walking out and saying, we got Osama bin Laden. It was Barack Obama who got Osama bin Laden. You could say it was against the law to go in. You could say anything you want. But it wasn't Trump. But that's what Lisa says.
While President Trump was in office, we didn't have a war. And I think he made 3 peace treaties.
Peace.
Caught Osama bin Laden and Soleimani, al-Baghdadi. And this president is weak.
Right. Not true. It was Barack Obama who got Osama bin Laden. Last clip of Lisa McClain. Lisa McClain says migrants crossing the border are basically all criminals, rapists, etc., kind of rehashing a Trump 2015 line.
Come on in. And you know who came in? Terrorists, convicts.
Terrorists? Who's that?
Murderers, and rapists. And if we think the border crisis is just a crisis at the border, we're gravely mistaken.
Really, really crazy stuff. And then last one for you. Mike Pillow was at the event. Pillow was interviewed. He's still going on about machines, guys. It's beyond belief.
We have the bombshell evidence. There's only one machine in the United States now where you open up and there it all is. And that was Tina Peters took a copy of, backed up her computer.
That machine is my espresso maker. You open it up, all the evidence from the 2020 election. I've got it stuffed in there along with old coffee grounds.
Last summer, when I had my symposium, she was there. From that time on, at least 8 different cyber experts did a 7-month investigation. And
yeah, completely delusional guy. And remember that he is suing all machines.
We're doing a class action lawsuit against all machines.
Yeah, I actually, I'm waiting to find out whether my bicycle is technically a machine. And if so, it's going into the witness protection program. Completely insane. Completely insane. We'll have these clips on our Instagram. Make sure you're following us there at David Pakman Show. If you value what we do at the David Pakman Show, remember to support us on Patreon. Go to patreon.com/David Pakman Show, where you can get access to behind the scenes videos, the daily bonus show, the commercial-free daily show, as well as special discounts on merch, including hats, hoodies, mugs, and t-shirts. You can support the show for as little as $2 a month. Check it out at patreon.com/David Pakman Show. Today, we're going to be speaking with a Republican congressional candidate named Darlene Swaffer, and I think this is going to be very, very interesting for our audience. Darlene is a small business owner and is running for Congress in Florida's 22nd district. Darlene, I really appreciate you coming on today.
Thank you, David. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it's, I'm always interested in learning more about different candidates, their ideas, whether there might be, my audience is on the left, and it's always interesting to see where there might be opportunities to sort of bridge divides and work together and all of these different types of things. So let's kind of contextualize your candidacy a little bit. If I understand correctly, Michael Flynn and Roger Stone have both endorsed you. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And a few hours before our interview, you posted a picture of yourself with the former President Donald Trump, and you said it was wonderful to meet my president. Just as a sort of like gut check, right? Who's the current president of the United States?
I don't know. That's debatable. Some people feel that we had a stolen election, and that's an illegitimate president currently serving. I have my own thoughts on that, but if you look back in the last 1 year and several months, where are we as a country? I mean, we went from being energy independent to now purchasing oil from Russia and negotiating oil with Venezuela. We went from having very low inflation to having very high inflation. We got back into the Paris Accord, even though we are very responsibly a global citizen on our energy consumption.
Well, let's get to that. But Darlene, I want to hold you to who's the current president?
Well, I don't believe that the current president is a legitimate president, and we'll leave it at that.
Is Joe Biden currently the president, even if you think he's illegitimate? Is he the president?
I don't believe he is.
Okay.
I don't believe that is the current legitimate president.
And who is the current legitimate president?
I don't believe we have a current legitimate president.
Wow. So in a sense, there's no president of the U.S. right now.
I guess that's your interpretation of what I said, but okay.
Well, you tell me, I mean, is there a president right now, I guess?
Well, I'd rather not answer that. How's that? Because I kind of feel like you're leading down an area of controversy that we don't have to go.
Okay, interesting. Let's talk about the energy independence thing, just to pick one thing. And so this, I think, will give my audience a lot of kind of insights into your campaign. The United States in 2020 which was Donald Trump's last year in office, produced as much oil as we used. And I think that's what you're signaling when you talk about being energy independent. We used a certain amount of oil and we produced an amount that matched that. And in 2021, the same thing happened. We produced as much oil as we used. So can you tell me on what basis you say that we are no longer energy independent under Joe Biden?
Well, actually, if you look at the graph of how much oil we've purchased from Russia, it's significantly more than what we were producing for ourselves. I mean, that graph was well published, and I'm happy to email that to you. But that is an inaccurate statement that you just shared. It doesn't matter how much oil we consume, we can either produce our own oil and build back our reserves, which is what President Trump did, or deplete our oil reserves and start purchasing oil from other countries, which is evident in the price of gas today. I mean, it was under $2 a gallon a year and 3 months ago. And what are we at now? $4, $5, in some cases, $6 or $7. That is your evidence.
Let's get back to gas prices. And I want to really, with you, I love the clarity of the conversation where let's agree to first talk oil and then we'll talk gas. So did you know that the US for decades has purchased oil from foreign countries? So under Trump, even though we produced as much oil as we used, some of the oil we produce, we export. And to make up for that, we import some oil. And under both Trump and Biden, we imported oil from Russia. Did you know that?
Did you know that in the last 20 years, we had presidents in the United States that did not focus on energy independence and producing our own oil and offshored those opportunities to other countries? Did you know that?
Well, but that's not an answer to my question, is it?
That is an answer, because it's not about the Trump presidency. What Trump did was create energy independence to the point where we were exporting oil.
Okay.
That's not what happened in previous presidential administrations.
But you criticize Joe Biden for importing oil from Russia.
It lies to the Obama administration, it lies to the Clinton administration, it lies to the Bush administration. It was both Democrat and Republican presidents that did not look out for the interests of American families. And what Trump did was put American families first. We have the capability to farm our own reserves from gas, coal, and gas.
But Darlene, if we can, Darlene, I really want to take it one issue at a time. I want to take it one issue at a time.
Sure.
Will you concede that in both 2020 and 2021, U.S. oil production exceeded consumption? Will you concede that? And then we'll get to the disagreement. Will you concede that?
Actually, it's not a concession. We did produce more oil than we consumed, but that's because we were able to export it and actually earn income back to the treasury on what we exported. Now we're no longer in an exportation phase. We are purchasing oil from other countries because we're not producing enough oil.
Let's see. I don't want to belabor it, but at the same time, I want to make sure my audience understands where we're disagreeing. In both 2020 and 2021, let's see if we can even break it down more simply, Darlene. In 2020, the U.S. used a certain amount of oil. Will you agree that we used oil in 2020?
Of course.
Okay.
We used oil.
Will you agree we used oil in 2021?
We did use oil in 2021.
Good. Will you agree that in both 2020 and 2021, forget for a second about exports, we produced more oil than we used in 2020 and 2021? Are we okay on that?
Right, but
hold on, we'll get to it. But we agree so far, right?
Right.
Okay. In both 2020 and 2021, we exported some oil.
Right.
Yes. And in 2020 and 2021, we imported some oil from Russia.
We imported very little oil. I don't have the chart in front of me.
But we did import some, right?
Right. And we had to produce more oil because our oil reserves were depleted under the Obama administration. Trump put back our oil reserves during his administration. Would you agree to that?
No, I don't agree to that. But let's get to that. We'll get to the disagreement. So far, Darlene, this is great because we're really going through the nuts and bolts. We both agree that in 2020 and 2021, the U.S. produced more oil than we used. And we agree that in 2020 and 2021, we exported some oil.
And we
Right.
agree that in 20 and 21, we imported some oil from Russia. So what's the big criticism of what Biden did in 21? It sounds like it was exactly the same thing.
Well, actually, we didn't purchase oil to the extent in 2021 like we did in 2020 or 2019 or
Oh, so
2018
Biden was
or
more
20.
independent. He didn't purchase as much.
Biden purchased oil in 2021 that we did not as a country purchase in 2020, 2019, 2018, and 2017.
Oh, he purchased
Look
more,
at
you're
the 4
saying. Okay.
years under Trump's administration. We did not purchase the oil from Russia to the extent of what Biden has done
Got
in
it.
2021.
Okay.
That is fact.
Okay. All right. Let's talk a little about gas prices. Who's responsible for high global gas prices right now?
Who's responsible for high global gas prices? If we are producing our own oil, we can control the market behind the prices. That's economics 101.
Okay. But so right now, would you agree that gas prices are high in the United States?
They are extremely high.
Okay.
My brother is a truck driver with his own rig.
Okay.
It costs him over $1,000 to fill his truck with gas.
Mhm.
So
Okay.
what does that equate to? He's going to have a higher cost for logistics to transport goods.
Got it.
That's going to translate to higher prices of cost of goods sold.
Absolutely.
Then higher prices of retail prices. And then if you're purchasing something that costs more today than it did yesterday, then you're paying higher sales tax for it.
Absolutely.
So at the end of the day, we are all paying for more based on the decisions of the current administration.
Let's wait. So we agree gas prices are high in the US. Do you agree gas prices are high in France right now?
Well, France doesn't produce their own oil.
But that wasn't my question, Darlene, is do you agree that gas
answer.
prices are high in
That
France
is the
right
answer. They're not producing oil. They're at the mercy of supply and demand of countries they can purchase oil
now?
from.
Fine. But my
Okay.
question is, do you agree gas prices are high in France right now?
They're high everywhere all over the world.
Beautiful. So we can even skip that part.
Okay?
Is Joe Biden responsible for that?
Absolutely 100%.
How?
Why did he stop production of the Keystone Pipeline? Why are we not producing the same level of oil that we did during the Trump administration?
Okay.
There's a zero excuse on why we can't produce our own oil.
Hold on a second, though, Darlene. Let's take it a step at a time now, because we want to be clear. Keystone XL pipeline. You know that Keystone XL phase 4. Well, I guess let's back up. Keystone XL is 4 phases.
Right.
3 of the phases have been up and running for years. The 4th is what we're now talking about. Agree so far?
Right.
Agree
But
so
that
far.
was 10,000 jobs.
But hold on a
lost.
second. Hold on a second.
Stop that.
Wait a sec, Darlene. Wait a second.
Okay.
Do you agree that phase 4 of Keystone XL was not active when Trump was president? Trump
wasn't
wanted to do
active.
construction, but it wasn't active.
No, of course, they weren't producing oil.
Beautiful.
They were not flowing the oil through that pipeline.
Beautiful.
That's true.
Agreed 100%.
Right.
Do you agree that the pipeline is a method of transporting oil, not producing it?
That is a method of transporting oil, but that also reduces the cost of supply and demand as well.
How?
So you have to factor that in. What do you mean how? If they can get the oil to certain markets within the United States more efficiently, that's going to reduce the cost of production
Okay.
and transporting, correct?
Your economics 101 is a big thing for you, right? Okay.
Yes.
Do you know how much global oil production would go up if Keystone XL phase 4 was completed?
How much it would go up in what respect? Give an example. On
Percentage wise. So if right now we are at what we would call 100%, right now the status quo is 100%.
Right.
If Keystone XL phase 4 goes live, how much does oil production globally go up?
I don't have the answer to that. But
It's
why
1%.
Well, I don't know if that's your fact. And I don't think that fact is accurate.
No, facts are facts. Facts are not opinions. A fact is a fact.
Right.
It would go up
Right.
1%.
So show me the evidence behind that fact, because I have not heard that it would only be 1%. I actually think that's radical liberal facts. And people assume that those are facts. So share with us, what is your fact behind it's only being 1%
So
impact
everybody
on world
from
production?
the NRDC
Okay.
to, I mean, it's, whoever you want to cite, we're talking about a 1% increase globally. That won't make a gas price difference. You know that, Darlene, Economics 101.
And actually, I don't believe in that 1%. I believe that's the narrative that they probably want everyone to kind of run with.
Okay.
So I find it hard to believe that a pipeline would only produce 1% of the world's
Pipelines
supply.
don't actually produce anything. They're just transport methods. It would allow the transport of 1% more oil.
Right.
You just don't believe it.
Well, share the facts with your audience, share it with me, and then we can analyze it. How's that?
Beautiful, beautiful. Okay. What do you think the top tax rate should be?
The top tax rate? I believe as citizens we're double, triple, and quadruple taxed.
Okay.
So I think right now the federal tax is in the 33 percentile when you add everything together.
What do you mean percentile?
Well, when you're looking at how you do your taxes, right?
Yep.
It's around 30+% that comes out of your income in terms of taxes, state, federal, county, any local taxes, when you add all that up together.
Well, it depends what state you live in, how much you make, and a lot of things, right?
Correct. I was an accounting and finance major. I did my taxes for many years. So it's around that bracket. So you add Medicare tax, you add all the different taxes, about that much. And then on top of that, you have sales tax. And then on top of that, you have gas tax. And then, if you smoke, there's a cigarette tax. And then, when you die, there's taxes, everything. There's taxes on everything.
Okay.
So, and then when you die, there's an estate tax. It's 35%.
If you have more than $10.5 million.
No, actually, it's less than that. Yeah.
No, it's 10.5 million. Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's less than that.
What do you think it is?
Well, there's a death tax of like if I die tomorrow, before my son could collect any assets, there's a death tax.
Did you know that starts at 11? That starts at 11. Your first $11 million. There's no federal estate tax.
There's a death tax.
No.
Yes.
Where'd you get
that? There's a death tax that everybody goes through. When you die and you leave your assets to your heirs,
right?
That's the tax that is going to be assessed by the government before your heirs get any money.
But this is this is wild, Darlene. You're a candidate, and it sounds like you don't know that the first $11.7 million of one's estate doesn't, you only pay tax after you leave 11.7 million to your heirs. You didn't know that, did you?
If it's 11.7, how is it that because I deal with seniors all day long.
Okay.
I'm the Medicare lady. Okay.
Okay.
And I had a client that only had $250,000, and her estate was hit with a death tax before her children collected it. So how did that happen with her?
Maybe it was at the state level. I don't know, but federally there's an 11.7 million. But hold on. There's your first 11.7 million. There's no tax federally.
Right, on the federal level. Okay.
But you didn't know that 2 minutes ago, right?
Right, but that's on the federal level.
Fair.
So I deal with seniors all day long.
Okay.
That's what I do for the last 11 years. And I've heard way too many. As a matter of fact, this is the biggest concern that seniors have brought to my attention.
Yep.
That they have to set up a trust, which costs $3,000 typically to set up, about $2,500 to $3,000.
Yeah.
So that they could try to protect their assets and not be subject to that death tax before they leave their children any money.
Now, wouldn't it be the right thing to do as someone advising seniors to let them know that their first 11.7 million are exempt?
Well, I'm not a tax advisor, so that's not up to me legally to share that information with them. I sell Medicare health insurance, so I'm not going to give advice that has nothing to do with my license.
I think that's responsible, Darlene.
Yes.
Okay, Darlene, listen, this has been incredibly illuminating, and I can't thank you enough. I think we've had a number of disagreements. You had the one very interesting idea there about non-taxable overtime hours. Very, very interesting. I can't tell you how much I appreciate you spending some time with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate that too. And I'd love to see the facts behind what you shared, 1%, how that's going to add to the oil supply. I know that's inaccurate, but we'd love to see the data on that.
When we publish this,
maybe your sources are inaccurate and you don't know. So I'm going to look into it too, and whatever I find, I'm going to send it to you.
please, Darlene, it's been
Definitely.
an unfettered pleasure on our end.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Follow us on social media. Interact with the David Pakman Show community. See exclusive content. See when we're taking calls live. And stay up to date on other big show announcements. We post daily. Find us on Reddit, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Discord, and TikTok. All right, after that wacky Trumpist interlude with Darlene Swaffer, let's get into the last component of this dystopian rally over the weekend, the attendees, the people who went to the Trump rally. Because remember, without followers, the movement is nothing. Here is a woman who started crying. She started crying because she misses Trump so much.
This country, Trump loves this country. I love my country. We need to straighten this country up. I have children, and we need you, Trump. Our country is going to
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm gonna give you a hug, man. This is why we do this for people like you, because we know how important it is. We know we love this country, and we know exactly.
This is more sad than anything else. I mean, you know, crying because Trump was president makes more sense. Like crying because it was such a terrible episode in this country's history. Like that would make sense. You know, it was horrible. It was absolutely humiliating globally. Crying because you want the guy back so bad, that is just very, very strange. Then they interviewed another woman who said she's planning to cry when Trump comes out on stage.
So what's your anticipation for today? I mean, you've got thousands of people here. You've got Mike Lindell behind us. He's going to walk out on that platform. It's just going to be exciting.
I will probably cry when I see him, and everybody else. This is very emotional because people are finally waking up to what happened in 2020.
It's very emotional. You same thing. It's a very emotional experience when he walks out on the stage.
It is. I was in Washington, D.C., and that was amazing.
On which day?
On January 6th.
Yeah, for the ellipse.
Yes.
That was millions.
What a great day that was. That was an amazing day. This is a cult leader, guys. It's sounding more and more like the cultists you read about when you read about Charles Manson, when you read about the People's Temple. The same woman was asked why she likes Trump. Listen to what she says. It's the opposite of what's true.
Why do you love President Trump?
Well, he's honest.
He's the biggest liar in the history of American presidents. Undeniable fact.
He's a Christian.
He's obviously not a Christian. He doesn't know anything about the Bible. He didn't go to church. He concocted that to trick people like this woman, and it worked. That's why he did it, because it worked. The proof is in the pudding. This woman believed it.
He's anti-abortion.
He's not anti-abortion. He was in favor of choice until he was 68. He decided to run and said, I got to come up with some story about why I'm against abortion. And he came up with, I met a kid I liked, and the mom told me she once thought about an abortion. And from that day forward, and that happened when he was 68. They've fallen for all of it.
And he calls it like it is. He says what all of us are thinking.
If we're all thinking the things Trump says, we're screwed. We're really screwed. Then they spoke to some guy who's running for school board on an anti-critical race theory platform.
No CRT, right?
No CRT.
No CRT.
Matter of fact,
1 + 1 is 2. If you have 2 X chromosomes, you are a what? Female.
Yes.
Come on, people. Biology 101.
The funniest part is, this is not the crowd that knows about biology. You know, I don't want to belabor that, but if you're trying to ask chromosomal or genetic questions, the people waiting to go to the Trump rally, I'm sorry, guys, are not exactly the people that you ask. Okay, then I can't do too much of this, but let's go to a woman who also explained, I guess, why she loves Trump.
Say about it. You love your Trump.
Absolutely.
Number one reason why you love President Trump is why?
He's going to save America, and he loves us. He absolutely loves us.
You know what's really funny and sad about that? One of the things we've learned is Trump doesn't love these people. Trump's followers are the people he spent his life trying to stay away from. And if they are useful to him voting wise, he'll pretend to like them. And if they're useful donor-wise, he'll pretend to like them. But then he'll abandon them, he'll screw them, he'll scam them. And you know what? If he runs in 24, he'll pretend to like them again. But they've fallen for all of it. Last one, listen, this one, you can't even come up with an introduction to this one.
Donald Trump, he's the modern day Muhammad Ali, you know what I'm saying? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sting like a bee. He's going to hit harder next time.
Right here.
The only similarity I can think of between Trump and Muhammad Ali is both figured out ways not to go to Vietnam, albeit for very different reasons. Muhammad Ali because he was an objector, and Trump because he was, I guess, scared and claimed to have bone spurs. So that's the only thing I can think of. Very scary stuff. These people vote, which means we have to vote. Sarah Palin is running for Congress. Sarah Palin is for our younger viewers, she was a sort of precursor to the Trump types. This is actually a really interesting political history moment. George W. Bush was kind of dim. And the thing about him is he's not really, all of it led to Trump, but he's not really the pre-Trump mold in the sense that he was actually a neocon. Bush was a neocon. Palin was kind of the first, what I call sort of like a dumbacon, where it's like the main thing is you don't know anything. With Bush, he didn't know much, but he was still a neocon at heart. Palin was the first sliver of what eventually was Trump and Trumpism, which is they're just clueless reactionaries lacking any real ideology. And she was the late John McCain's running mate in 2008. They fortunately lost to Barack Obama. And she is now running for Congress. Sarah Palin files to run for the late Alaska Representative Don Young's seat. Sarah Palin filed with the FEC on Friday for the special election. She said, America is at a tipping point. As I've watched the far left destroy the country, I knew I had to step up and join the fight. Palin filed an hour before Friday's filing deadline. There are 50 candidates in the field. So we'll have plenty of time to talk about Sarah Palin more. But for those who maybe don't remember her, she was known for the word salad before Trump perfected it. Here's one example from an interview in 2016 with Jake Tapper, a visibly disoriented Sarah Palin here.
You talked about inconsistencies among the votes and the positions of Senator Cruz. Donald Trump is somebody who has clearly had different positions on issues that he has today, including an issue very near and dear to your heart, the issue of abortion and life.
Right.
Have you talked to him about that? He called himself very pro-choice. Now he says he's very pro-life. Have you talked to him about it?
I am so glad that Mr. Trump has seen the light and understands the sanctity of innocent life and how a baby in the womb should be most protected. What has been kind of sad about the situation, though, politically speaking, are groups that are pro-life and they say they want to bring more people into the fold. They given Trump a hard time for his past views on abortion, where they're celebrating others, like I was going through a list, like Justin Bieber.
What?
And
Justin Bieber.
Yeah, who has made
this is Jake Tapper's best moment, where he looks perplexed and goes, Justin Bieber. Yeah, I don't know either, Jake.
Statements understanding the sanctity of life, but in the past said he was no big deal to him. He's just one example. But I've heard these same groups celebrate people who I've been to their fundraisers, I've spoken at their events, and there's usually someone in the crowd, every single one of these crowds, who will testify to having seen the light, to understand, I get.
Yeah, so I'm really hoping that she does some debates. Here's one more example. Again, for our young viewers, here is Sarah Palin speaking at a Trump event, and really just an incredible word salad.
Immigrants welcoming.
This is like a chop. They've really chopped it all up, and it's just like confetti.
Them in, even inducing and seducing them with gift baskets. Come on over the border and here's a gift basket of teddy bears and soccer balls. Our kids and our grandkids, they'll never know then what it is to be rewarded for that entrepreneurial spirit that God creates within us. In order to work and to produce and to strive and to thrive and to really be alive. Wisconsin, Reagan saved the hog. Here, your Harley Davidson. That was Reagan.
It made as little sense then as it does now. And we can only hope that Sarah Palin will be participating in debates. So Sarah Palin is running another notable race in 2020, much ahead when it comes to the midterms. We have a voicemail number, and that number is 219-2-DAVID-P. The San Antonio troll is known for one thing on this show. For nearly a decade, he calls in and criticizes me for things I have never said. A particularly manic troll from San Antonio called in, unable to control himself, still criticizing me for things I certainly never said. Oh, sorry. Let's take it from the top.
Pac-Man, I'm just wondering, do you ever do a video? Oh, something seriously wrong with Joe Biden. Oh, Joe Biden's on the verge of death. Oh, Joe Biden's on the... If you like...
I mean, I don't know. I've never said Trump's on the verge of death. I don't even know what this is in reference to.
Coughs or sniffles. You know, you've done this about everyone. Like, none of them have died. I think Herman King was the only one that died. We're like, oh, they're on the verge of death. They're about to die.
Well, when it's been reported that people are actually on the verge of death, like the many radio hosts who were, you know, in a medically induced coma for weeks, and it was reported they are on the verge of death, I would report that. But do you understand that that's not my language? That's from other media outlets. But other than that, as usual, the San Antonio troll furious with me for things I never said.
None of them died. How does it feel being wrong just so consistently? And I want to tell you something. Pac-Man, you go on to say that DeSantis has mismanaged COVID worse than any other government. You don't even mention Andrew Cuomo. In fact, just saying Andrew Cuomo's name, you already hung the call up. And
actually, I've criticized Cuomo extensively. Again, I don't care about party. I don't care about Democrats. I don't care about Republicans. DeSantis mismanaged COVID. Cuomo mismanaged COVID in different ways. We've talked about it all. San Antonio troll, either criticize me for things I've said or call whoever is saying this stuff, because it certainly is not me. We have a fantastic bonus show for you today. Get instant access by becoming a member at joinpacman.com.